our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
In today's top stories, Algeria has strongly condemned the terrorist attack on the convoy of Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud in Mogadishu, reaffirming its full solidarity with the Somalia in its efforts to eradicate terrorism. Algeria and Tunisia have stressed the will to jointly work to counter negative phenomena in border areas, including smuggling and illegal immigration. The Israeli occupation warplanes is continuing its brutal aggression on the Gaza Strip, causing more Palestinian victims, mainly women and children. Hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International. I'm Jamal Smani. Algeria has strongly condemned the terrorist attack on the convoy of Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud in Mogadishu, reaffirming its full solidarity with Somalia in its efforts to eradicate terrorism. A statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said or expressed its satisfaction to see President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud get out of this heinous attack safe and sound. Algeria extended its sincere condolences to the families of the victims and wishes a speedy recovery to the injured. The statement said, based on its painful experience in the face of the horrors to blind terrorism and aware of its subversive designs, Algeria reaffirms its full solidarity and its unwavering commitment to Somalia, a sister country, in its efforts to eradicate terrorism and strengthen the country's security and stability. The President of the African Union Commission, Mohamed Ali Yusuf, has condemned the terrorist attack carried out against the convoy of Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud in Mogadishu. Masoud Sharfi tells us more.
Mr. Ali Yusuf said that the despicable terrorist attack carried out at a busy intersection in the capital was yet another desperate attempt by the Shabab terrorists to undermine the determination of the Somali people and leaders, adding that the African Union is fully in solidarity with the Somali government and people in their efforts to eliminate the Shabab threat. He emphasized that the growing public support for Somali security operations demonstrates the country's collective will to reject extremism and ensure a peaceful future, calling for continued regional and international cooperation to defeat terrorism and promote lasting peace and stability in Somalia and throughout the Horn of Africa. Mr. Yusuf noted that the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia, ATMIS, in place since January 1st, remains committed to supporting Somali authorities in their effort to restore security and protect civilians. According to the Somali Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism, the explosion targeted the convoy in the Hamar Jajab area of Mogadishu as the president was heading towards the state of Hirshabelle. The ministry said that the attack was thwarted and the president safely reached his destination as planned, condemning the cowardly act that killed and injured innocent civilians. The explosion of the attack, which was claimed by the terrorist group Shabab, destroyed several nearby buildings and vehicles and killed 4 people, including a journalist.
Here in Algiers, the Minister of the Interior, Brahim Mered, and his Tunisian counterpart, Khalid Nouri, underlined the will of Algeria and Tunisia to work together to counter negative phenomena in border areas such as smuggling and illegal migration. In a statement to the press at the end of an extended bilateral meeting attended by the two ministers and the heads of the two countries' security forces, Mr. Mered reiterated the importance of this meeting for the two brotherly countries in that it enables efforts to be coordinated and measures to be put in place to prevent these negative phenomena. With regard to the development of the border areas between Algeria and Tunisia, the Minister of Interior referred to the commission set up for this purpose, noting that commissions to combat smuggling could be created. For his part, the Tunisian minister of the Interior said that a number of points were addressed during this meeting, including smuggling, its impact on the economies of both countries, and ways of countering it. Now to the Middle East. In Palestine, medical sources announced that 95 Palestinian citizens, the majority of whom were children and women, have been killed since dawn on Thursday in the ongoing Israeli bombardment on the Gaza Strip. The occupation unilaterally ended the Gaza ceasefire agreement and resumed its brutal aggression on the Strip on Tuesday, March 18, carrying out a wave of bloody airstrikes across the Strip and killing hundreds of Palestinians, including over 100 children. The aggression was resumed amidst concerns over the deterioration of the humanitarian situation in the Strip, given the ongoing siege and ban on the entry of medical and humanitarian aid. UN humanitarian agencies have warned that more than 1 million Palestinians are at risk to be deprived of food parcels in the besieged Gaza Strip during the month of March if aid supplies are not allowed to enter in the territory. Zaid Bougazi tells us more in this report.
The United Nations Office for Humanitarian Affairs OCHA has underlined that the blocking of humanitarian and commercial aid deliveries imposed by the Zionist entity in the Gaza Strip since March 2nd threatens to question quickly the hard-won gains during the 42 days of ceasefire which preceded the resumption of the Zionist aggression on the territory. OCHA insisted in its latest report that the fragility of these improvements underlines the critical need for sustained assistance, food aid remaining a lifeline for 2.1 million people. It said that the partners in the food security sector now depend entirely on the stocks delivered during the first phase of the ceasefire, which entered into force on January 19th, to continue their activities. But these reserves are rapidly dwindling. The agencies are therefore forced to significantly reduce food aid to families. In addition, between 10 and 20% of the 4,500 pregnant and lactating women interviewed in Gaza suffer from acute malnutrition, according to a recent analysis of the UN Central Group on Nutrition. These latest developments come as the Zionist occupation army has carried out intense shelling on the Gaza Strip on the night of Monday to Tuesday, killing more than 400 defenseless Palestinians, according to reports from the Palestinian health authorities.
The Palestinian Ministry of Foreign Affairs has called on the international community to take the utmost seriousness in addressing the official Israeli incitement to escalating the situation in the West Bank. Masoud Sharfi.
The ministry in a statement has condemned the ongoing crimes of house demolitions carried out by the Israeli occupation army in the camps of northern West Bank, especially the threats facing Jenin camp, where more than 60 homes are at risk of demolition, leading to large-scale destruction of the camps, altering their geography and permanently displacing their residents. It also condemned the provocative incursion carried out by Netanyahu in the West Bank yesterday and his inflammatory racist statements filled with threats to escalate and destabilize the situation in the region. The ministry added that it views these statements with grave concern, considering them colonial and expansionist calls aimed at entrenching the occupation and committing further crimes of ethnic cleansing, genocide, annexation, and forced displacement, actions that undermine any chance for de-escalation and the revival of a political horizon for resolving the conflict. It pointed out that it is closely monitoring the occupation's violations, crimes, and acts of genocide against the Palestinian people with relevant international bodies and states. The ministry reiterated its calls for the UN Security Council to assume its responsibilities in halting the genocide and taking necessary practical measures to implement international legitimacy resolutions, the precautionary orders issued by the International Court of Justice, and its advisory opinion on ending the prolonged occupation.
The Palestinian resistance movement Hamas has announced that it is continuing its discussions with the mediators to put an end to the Zionist aggression against the Gaza Strip and compel the occupier to implement the ceasefire agreement that he has violated. The movement spokesman, Abdul Latif Al-Qanour, said in a press release that the movement is committed to the ceasefire agreement and works with mediators to permanently save the Palestinian people from the war and ensure that the occupation withdraws from the Gaza Strip. In addition, the Hamas spokesman stressed that the siege, famine and the war of extermination in Gaza require urgent action by the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation to save the Palestinian people from genocide, prevent famine and lift the siege on the Palestinian enclave. Meanwhile, hundreds of people around the world are demonstrating to denounce the resumption of the Zionist occupation army aggression against Gaza and show solidarity with the Palestinian people. More with Amina Bourisha.
In Morocco, numerous crowds took part in the protests in different cities such as Tangier, Rabat, Fas, Casablanca, Berkane, and Agadir, carrying Palestinian flags and slogans saying, "People want the end of normalization." In this context, the Moroccan Front in support of Palestine called for staging a rally reaffirming its absolute rejection of any form of normalization with a Zionist entity until Palestine obtains its total right. Meanwhile, hundreds of demonstrators gathered in the center of Lisbon, Portugal, wearing Palestinian keffiyehs and carrying banners reading "Ethnic cleansing is not legitimate defense" and "Stop the Israeli genocide and illegal occupation." They called for an end to the genocide and to boycott sanctions and disinvestment of the Zionist entity. The Palestinian health authorities have announced a new death toll of at least 970 martyrs in 48 hours. Furthermore, protesters continue demonstrating in several cities in the U.S. to protest against the new Zionist aggression on the Gaza Strip. These demonstrations took place in Indianapolis, Indiana, in Rochester, New York, Denver, Colorado, Ventura, California, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Tampa in Florida.
The government of Chile said it is deeply disturbed and condemned the brutal attack by Israel on the civilian population in Gaza, saying that this attack constitutes a flagrant violation of the ceasefire agreement as well as of the most basic norms of international humanitarian law. Now to the Western Sahara fire, the Spanish Conservative Party Alternativa has reaffirmed its support for the Sahrawi cause and demanded that the Spanish state rectify its position vis-à-vis the conflict in Western Sahara to align with international law, which considers this territory separate and distinct from that of Morocco. Said Boughazi has the details.
The party Alternativa said it has been 3 years since the Spanish government changed its position regarding Western Sahara, a change that betrayed not only the Sahrawi people but also the principles of justice, legality and decolonization. According to this party, by deciding to support this pseudo-autonomy plan, Madrid ignored the UN resolutions and the inalienable right of the Sahrawi people to self-determination. It affirmed that with this decision, the Spanish state has not only abandoned its responsibilities as an administering power, but has also become complicit in the illegal occupation of the territory by Morocco, recording that Western Sahara remains the last colony in Africa subjected to repression, the plundering of its resources and the denial of its fundamental rights. This party emphasizes that its commitment to the Sahrawi cause is a commitment to justice. As a people endowed with a deep anti-colonial consciousness, we do not accept the perpetuation of injustice and occupation, it added, demanding respect for the right of the Sahrawi people to decide freely of their future through a self-determination referendum as established by the UN resolutions.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. This is the English service. The breach of the ceasefire in Gaza has worsened an already dire situation, leaving children among the most vulnerable. Our colleague Mariam Barshi has contacted Chief of Communication for UNICEF in the State of Palestine, Jonathan Criggs, to discuss the escalating crisis and its impact on Palestinian children.